It's not everyone's cup of tea to consume an entire podcast. That's why, welcome to The Ranveer Show's highlights channel, TRS Clips. Subscribe and hit that bell icon. Which happens to be your husband.
Yeah.
But even before that, I know you guys don't have a background in media or content. So where did this story start?
So this story started, I guess, while we were all in college. So look, we've all grown up as big, just like cinema buffs, like TV buffs, etc. So even in my family, it's a very nocturnal family, and we used to stay up late at night. Us time TV pe jo movies aati thi, antenna laga ke, and we used to stay up all night, like watching those kind of movies, and never had a bedtime, etc. So I've always been huge fan of movies and huge fan of TV serials and shows, etc. Now, when we were all in college, Ashwin and we were all doing engineering, and my two co-founders, Ashwin and Anirudh, were in college together, and they took some like filmmaking classes, appreciation of cinema type of classes in college as well. But again, it was all for fun, to lower the pressure of the rest of the engineering classes that you have. And then when we all moved to New York to start working, Ashwin actually did a course in the New York Film Academy. So he actually did a direction course there, and he was volunteering to set up the Indian Film Festival that happens in New York every year. So I think that's where the roots of it started. When Ashwin and I got married and we moved to India, my path was more in development and social development, so very different. And he wanted to pursue films, so that's when he joined Reliance Entertainment. After that, Jungly Pictures. And that's when, after a couple of years in the business, it was like, okay, now I know enough, I've developed enough of a network to set up something of my own. And the goal was always to create, content for the youth of the country. And that's how the idea of Pocket Aces came about. And then, Anirudh came on board, I came on board, and, that's how basically we started.
So, the way Pocket Aces has grown, would you say that FilterCopy is still like the main baby? Or because I know you all do a bunch of different things. There's Loco. There are, if the rumors are to be believed, there's like full-fledged films in the pipeline, and all these things are also happening. So, I mean, how do you all look at it, and how did you all look at it at the start? Because even when someone's trying to start a content-based company on YouTube, no 22, 23-year-old, no teenager will think as wide as you guys did. So I feel like there was definitely that element of your professional life prior to joining the world of content that came into play. But, at that point when you all were starting it, what was going on in your heads?
Yeah, 100%. See, at the time of start, it was actually very different because, again, Ashwin had spent time in the movie business. So Pocket Aces was initially conceptualized as a film production studio going to make feature films. So actually for the first year of Pocket Aces, that's what we tried to do. And, there were some very clear realizations. Number one, it's these are high budget projects. So you have to be, already kind of known in the space for somebody to kind of, trust you with those monies. Secondly, there are many important moving parts that have to align together, right? So whether it's the artists, the director, the writers, the actual cast. Now, directors and writers are easier to get to, right? The cast is actually the hardest if you're trying to go with, big names. Then there's the studios, right? Then, going forward, there are distributors, etc. So what we realized was that very little remains in your control, because it's too expensive to be able to finance anything yourself. And we became just like these people who were running between all these parties trying to put together a project. And we definitely felt, a lot of people in the media business spend years trying to get their first movie made. For us, that time was very important, and we definitely didn't want so much time to go by without something tangible to show for it, right, as an output. So that's when we thought that, okay, this somehow business model is not suiting us, because, even when after you make your first film, if it's a hit, great. It still takes you 1 year to make your second film. And if it doesn't do well, then it takes like 2 years or 3 years to make your second film. So this doesn't look like something which would work where, every single day you would feel so excited to be in this business, right? So for us, that's how it started. Now the type of content was very clear. It was like, we had been, because of growing up outside of India and spending so much time in the US, we had grown up exposed to all this like good international content. So we said that youth of India deserves this quality content made specifically for them versus, what's on TV, etc. And so the type of content was clear. The format of the movies to digital. And why digital? Because again, that realization dawned upon us that everybody is like watching on their phones actually, right? 70% of content consumption, and it's happening throughout the day, not just on Friday nights and not just on weekends, right? It's happening during commutes, it's happening when people wake up, when they're on the pot, in the middle of work, on their way back home, right before they go to bed. So that's when it dawned upon us that the format can be so different from this movie format we've been thinking about. And as soon as the format becomes short, the cost becomes really easy to absorb. And then as soon as the money is in your hands, the control is also in your hands. And so you can make as much content as you want, you can distribute it, and you can, if it doesn't work, that's fine. Next week, you can put out another piece of content. If it works, that's great, and you can still do that. So I think the training of our previous roles in finance, the way that came into use was because we then, after this realization of digital dawned upon us, we researched the heck out of what was happening in other parts of the world in this space as well. And at that time, BuzzFeed was something that was, growing really, really fast. And a lot of our early lessons have been from that, about how they set up their short video channel, how they used Facebook and YouTube at that time to actually grow organic distribution. You don't have to buy views, how to increase engagement. So we learned a lot of our lessons using research and trial and error and experimentation of, of the content that we were putting out. So it was a very systematic approach once we decided to go digital. And I think that's where it was different from what a lot of people do. It was well researched, and it was like, first we'll try this, it doesn't work, then we'll try this. Facebook के लिए ऐसा algorithm काम करता है, share button बहुत important है, YouTube के लिए search बहुत important है. So in the initial days, we actually sided much more towards Facebook because, if nobody knows you, how will they search for your content? Right? But on Facebook, if you pop up on people's timelines and they share, you pop up on their friends' timelines as well. So it's much less deliberate content discovery on Facebook. And that made us very lucky because Facebook had just launched Facebook video in India. And we became one of the first creators to go big just because we indexed more on it. And that partnership held us in very, very good stead. Now we have 7 brands, including FilterCopy, 7 content brands, which includes an animation channel, Jambo. It includes our infotainment channel, Nutshell. It has our talent management arm, Cloud, which we recently announced. FilterCopy remains the bread and butter and the largest marketing channel of how people know us. So people think the name of our company is also FilterCopy. Earlier we used to try to correct people. Now we're just like happy with it. It's like, okay, no pocket aces, but I think FilterCopy will always remain that biggest marketing channel. We use it also that way. So any new channel that we launched, even when we launched Loco, we used FilterCopy to promote it and grow it. So, yeah.
Right. Which year counts as the early days of this team?
2014 was a very important year.
Okay. That's not too far back.
No. So 2014 was all the film year. And then early 2015 was when we pivoted to digital. And 9 September 2015 was our first video release called Ban Ban on Dice Media actually. So Dice Media came before FilterCopy. Very few people know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a testament to the strength of the brand. You know, the fact that you guys are called the co-founders of FilterCopy, which is also probably what I'll be using on the thumbnail.